It's time for the Millionaires Roundtable, a daily wealth building talk show hosted by America's hip hop money guru, Lynn Richardson. On the station that can make a dollar holler. The Talk of Chicago, 1690 WVON.
Let's go. Well, good morning. Good morning. It is Wealthy Wednesday right here on the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, my favorite radio station. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. And just like yesterday, today, I am still committed to helping to create millionaires one family at a time. That means you, and you too. I know you didn't think you could do it, but I'm here. And guess what? We're on this road together. We're going to make it happen. We've been talking about real estate. We've been talking about mortgages because we know that real estate is the foundation for building wealth for families. But before we continue with our discussion that we started this week and we're going to continue with, I'd like to share a scripture with you from Jeremiah 32:9-11. It says, "So I bought the field, paying 17 pieces of silver for it. I signed and sealed the deed of purchase before witnesses, weighed out the silver and paid him. Then I took the sealed deed and an unsealed copy of the deed, which contained the terms and conditions of the purchase." So this just basically shows that since the beginning of time, people have been buying real estate. Real estate has always been an important part of transactions, of land, of biblical leadership, of family, of restoration, of legacy. There's a story about Zelophehad's daughters. He was a noble man, and he died and left 5 daughters, and he had a bunch of land. And the state was going to divvy up the land between, I don't know, I guess his cousins. And his daughter said, wait a minute, hold on. We are his daughters. And so there were the estate planning laws built right there at that time. And Zelophehad's daughters, of course, got the land. And so today's estate planning laws tell us that if someone passes on, then their heirs, first your spouse, if no spouse, then the children, and so on. And so it all started there. So I want to talk about the $1 million topic of today. I'm going to combine it with our $1 million topic from yesterday because I heard so many of you on social media say you didn't even get the list. I spent so much time talking, I didn't even tell you the whole list. It was the top 10 reasons why people get denied for a mortgage, and I think I only got to number 3. Because we don't have enough time, but we're not going to talk about that. So not only do I tell you the reasons, but I have to tell you why, and I have to tell you how to get around it. So that's what we're doing. We're talking about the top 10 reasons why people get denied for a mortgage, and one of them is not having enough money to show in your bank account. Okay, so we talked about one of the reasons is people don't know what they're doing, and the people I'm talking about are the people who actually work at the lender. They are call centers. There are call centers sometimes taking your information And they just gather all the information. They get your pay stubs, your W-2s, and then they send it up to the underwriter. And if your debt to income ratio is out of whack or something is wrong, then you'll get denied for the mortgage. So that was reason number one. Reason number two was debt to income ratio. You have way too many debts for the amount of house that you want to purchase. And your debt to income ratio is simply this figure. It is your total debts that are on your credit report plus your mortgage payment divided by your total income. That's your gross income. So that's reason number two. Reason number three is you don't have enough money to put down. Even if you're doing a no down payment. Let me repeat. I'm going to talk to you about some no money down options and how you can kind of maneuver the process to put down as little money as possible, but you still have to show some money in the bank. Now, let me tell you what you can't do. You can't go and borrow $5,000 from your cousin and put it in your bank account. It will not work. The mortgage people do not allow you to borrow money when you are getting a home. So you cannot call mom, you cannot call dad, you cannot call your cousins, you cannot call anybody and say, loan me this money and I'll pay you back on payday, because the lender is going to look at that like a debt. They're already looking at the debts that you have, so that if they allow you to get approved for a mortgage with additional debt, then that would have to go into your debt to income ratio. So when you get money from someone or from some unidentified source, it has to be a gift. So you have to call your relative or whomever it is, and you have to say, and the gift has to be from a relative or someone who has you have a relationship with that you can document that makes sense. So you don't have enough money to put down. You want to get some money from somebody. Guess what? You can't pay them back, at least not on paper. It has to be a gift. They have to write a letter saying, this is a gift to Miss Jones to purchase her home. I do not expect repayment. And this is how it has to be documented. They don't only want to see the letter that says it's a gift. They want to see the transaction. They want to see the money come out of the donor's account. And then they want to see that same amount of money going into your account. So if someone is giving you a gift to buy a home, then you have to show $5,000 coming out of their checking account. Yes, you'll have to get a copy of their checking account or their bank statement showing the withdrawal. You have to document that it came out, and then you have to document that same amount of money going into your account. So that's how you deal with a gift. The other reason why people don't get approved for a mortgage is because they have just enough money by the skin of their teeth to get into the house. Now, that was me. Me and my husband and I bought our first home when we were 20-something. Back in the 90s. And let me tell you, we ate beans. I don't even think we could afford the rice. We had beans and ramen noodles. And that's what we did. And we scraped every last dime to get into our home. But you cannot just take a look at the amount of money that it takes to get into your house. So let's say you're buying a house for $200,000 and the down payment is 3%. That's $6,000. And let's just say, for example, the seller is taking care of your closing costs. Maybe the seller's paying your closing costs. Maybe you have some other kind of arrangement. Well, you're going to show $6,000 in your bank account, but you also have to have enough money to pay your bills that month. You also have to have enough money for reserves. Reserves is emergency money. So you may be required to have 2 months reserves. You may be required to have 3 months reserves. And 3 months reserves are mortgage payments. So if your mortgage payment is $1,500 and they tell you you need 2 months of reserves, that means you need 1,500 times 2 saved in the bank in addition to your down payment. Here's the other thing. Let's say you're buying an investment property. And let's say you're going to live in the property. You're going to buy a 4-unit building. Then in many cases, they want 4, 5, or even 6 months reserves. For some types of investments, and depending on your credit score, you may have to have 1 year worth of reserves. So this is one of the reasons people don't get approved for a mortgage, because they've got good credit, they've got good work history, but they cannot document their down payment. I have seen cases so many times where people have gotten approved for the mortgage, they found the house, they've done the appraisal, they have the home inspection, and guess what? They cannot close on the home because we cannot use their bank statements. Let me tell you something else about your bank statements. If you have had a marginal situation, meaning you needed to explain why your bills were late, you needed to explain why you had a bankruptcy, you needed to explain why there was some interruption in your otherwise good credit. When you show the bank statement and you show the money that you have in your bank account for your down payment and your reserves, you also cannot have NSFs. Hello. And you can't have any tricky debts coming out. You can't have anything. So if you're telling the lender that these are the bills that you pay, that there's something that's coming out of your bank account, like a child support payment. We're going to get to that in just a moment. So you're saying this is all the debt that I have. And then they look at your bank account and they see that the state has taken the money out for the child support and you never told them. So these bank statements are one of the reasons why people do not get into their homes. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. After the break, I'm going to take some calls at 312-374-8130. 312-374-8130. Because guess what? We're creating millionaires one family at a time, and that means you, and I'm going to help you do that today. Well, guess what? It is 12:17 on the talk of Chicago. Traffic and weather are up next with Annette Flournoy. We'll be right back. Don't turn that dial. WVON.
You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
Real estate. Let's talk about real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate. With Lynn Richardson discuss today. Any question that are on your mind, she can answer them every time. Whenever you got it going on, you can't go wrong. Homebuying Club on WVON. Call in and talk to Lynn Richardson. Whenever you got it going on, Homebuying Club on WVON. Whenever you got it going on, Homebuying Club on WVON.
Welcome back. Now you're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. I am your host, Lynn Richardson, and we are talking about real estate. Everything real estate, mortgages, down payment assistance, you name it, we're talking about it. I'm continuing with my top 10 reasons from yesterday because I've been hit on social media and y'all said, where are the other reasons? And you know what? You are right. I didn't finish it, so I'm going to finish the list, as much of it as I can today. And I'm going to also infuse in it true, low, and no money down home buying options. You can call me at 312-374-8130. 312-374-8130. And we have Pamela. Pamela, you are here with me, and you have a question. What is your question for me, Pamela? Okay, Pamela, maybe she hung up. She got scared. All right. I do see that she sent in a question, and it says, how to change financing to become a millionaire. Now, I don't understand this question. So, Pamela, I want you to call me back at 312-374-8130, 312-374-8130, and I can answer your question as soon as I understand it. But the truth is, you got to change everything. You got to do an about face, but I want to know specifically what it is you're referring to so that I can give you an answer that actually makes sense. So we're back to the top 10 reasons why people get denied for a mortgage. 1 was the people don't know what they're doing. 2, you've got a debt to income ratio issue. Number 3, you don't have enough money to put down, or your bank statement is out of whack. Something is not right. You cannot document it. Number 4, employment. Now, employment is very tricky because they want you to have 2 years on your job. That's what they say. They want you to have 2 years uninterrupted of work experience. And if you have had an interruption in employment, then you have to explain it. So some of the explanations that are acceptable in the mortgage underwriting process are, I took some time off to go to school to be better in my career so I can make more money. That's acceptable. What's also acceptable is if you have to take Family Medical Leave Act. Maybe there was a new child born And it can be for mothers as well as fathers. So it doesn't just have to be for the mother. It can be the father who also took some time off. Maybe you took some time off more than FMLA. You took some time off to raise your kids. And now that your kids are in kindergarten, you are back in the workforce. You were able to document that you were teaching for 15 years or you were working in this industry for 5 years. Then you took some time off, and now you're back gainfully employed. The number one reason why you do not have to have a work history, let me repeat, there's one big reason why you do not have to have a work history. If you just recently graduated from college and you are working in your career, let's say you went to college for journalism and now you're working in journalism. Let's say you went to college to be a teacher and now you are teaching. Let's say you went to college to go into finances and now you're working in finances. Even if you've only been on that job 2 weeks and gotten your first paycheck, guess what? You can still get approved for a mortgage because they will count your school time essentially as employment time. So you'll have to show your degree that you actually finished. You'll have to show your transcript potentially, and you'll have to show your offer of employment in your new job. And before you close on your house, you will have to actually show a pay stub. So you can actually get approved for the mortgage in some cases before you even close on the house. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON, 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation, my favorite radio station. And we are committed to creating millionaires one family at a time. That means you. It means you, and you too. So we're going to talk about down payment options. There's something out there for investors. So I know all the investors are trying to figure out, I want to be able to buy real estate, but I don't have any money to put down. Well, my first response is this. If you don't have money to put down on real estate, then you're not an investor. Investing, what do you invest in? Your good looks? No, it doesn't work that way. You actually have to invest some money. Yes, but there are some instances where if your credit score is over 680 and you're able to document your income and you've got a good payment history and maybe you've got some cash tied up in some other projects and your cash flow is going to open up in a certain amount of time, you may be able to get additional financing from hard money lenders. Now, I am cautious about hard money lending. I really am. And I know people have been doing it for years, but I don't want anybody showing up at my doorstep talking about, giving them one of my children or something like that. I just think with these hard money loans, you have to be very careful. And it's not something that you should do frivolously, meaning you shouldn't just wake up tomorrow and say, hey, I want to invest in real estate. Oh, I don't have any money. Okay, let me just go get a hard money loan. No, you should think about it long and hard, and getting a hard money loan should be the absolute last thing that you consider. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable, and I'm taking calls at 312-374-8130. We're going to the phone lines now. Caller, are you here with me? Are you here with me? Okay, I think I may be having technical difficulties and I can't hear. So if you're there and you have a question, please call us back at 312-374-8130, 312-374-8130. I can see my DMs and all of that stuff blowing up. People have questions and I have answers. We just got to get you through to the phone lines at 312-374-8130. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON, 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation. I'm going to give you this quick treat before we go to the break, and then I'm going to expound on it when we come back. Many people are trying to figure out, okay, this is great. She's talking about creating millionaires one family at a time, but I don't have $1 million cents. I don't have 10 cents, as a matter of fact. I'm trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. I tell everybody, start wherever you are. If you want to get a law degree, but you don't have a GED, the first thing you have to do is go get the GED. So if you want the law degree, which is millionaire status, or to have a high net worth, or to be able to create a legacy for your family, then get the GED. Just start with me. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable, and it's 12:30 on the Talk of Chicago. We are going to take a news, traffic, and weather break with Annette Flournoy, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. WVON.
You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable right here on WVON 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago, the voice of the nation. My favorite radio station. Thank you so much for just being here, for being present, for being aware, for being interested in taking power and taking action and taking control of your financial situation. It starts with you, and I'm here to help you. And I've got another wonderful lady who's also here to help you as well. Sharita Ellens, is the CEO of Women Employed, a Chicago native. She's a longtime advocate for Chicago women, youth, and families. She brings a unique perspective and a wealth of experience in organizational development, nonprofit financial management, and employment policy and related strategies to her role. She is doing something great right now. Anytime anybody is doing anything to help women, to help anybody, but specifically to help women, I am an advocate for it. Sharita holds an executive MBA from the University of Notre Dame, so she's smart too, y'all, okay? So let's listen. And a Bachelor of Science degree in Speech Communications from Illinois State University. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Sharita to the show. Sharita, are you with us this morning?
Yeah, Lynn, thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you so much for being here. Now, tell me, I've got two renditions of your name. I've got Ellens on your bio, and I've got Ellis on your sheet. Tell me which one it is so I do not butcher it.
It is Ellens. It's like Ellen with an S on the end.
Ellens with an S. Okay, awesome, Sharita. It's so important because I grew up as Carlin Rozier. And people used to call me Carolyn. There was no O. Yes. It's actually spelled Carlin. Yes. And then the Rozier, people just forgot all about that. So it's very important to me to get your name right. I'm so excited. Tell us what you're doing, Sharita.
So I work with an organization called Women Employed. I've been the CEO there for about two months, just over 2 months. And we are an advocacy organization that's been around since 1973. We're actually one of the 3 original feminist organizations left, the only one here in Chicago. And our mission is to improve the economic status of women and remove barriers to economic equity. I know that's a mouthful, so we do that by pursuing equity, in the workforce, by affecting policy change, expanding access to educational opportunities, and advocating for fair and inclusive workplaces.
Excellent.
That's a lot.
No, let me tell you, there's a lot going on. And so for you to take, the initiative to delve into this area, I'm tired of us going just to the expo, to hear the people sing and dance and talk and walk. We've got to get to the place.
Important.
Yeah, it's important, but we need to do more than that.
For businesses, we do.
Yes.
And so, what we're working on is to create that, the systemic change that
exactly
will impact thousands. So we, work on, we're currently working on laws downstate that impact paid sick time, that impact no salary history. We were a part of the minimum wage fight, and working on family medical leave. So we do things both in Illinois as well as Chicago. Right now in Chicago, we are working to pass the Fair Work Week ordinance, which will allow those individuals that really impacted, like in the retail industry, in the food and beverage, hospitality industry, that does not have a regular work schedule, to be able to have some consistency in their life, so that they can plan child care, so that they can plan to go back to school, so that they know how much their paycheck is going to be. So working with the city and to pass an ordinance where workers will have to provide a consistent schedule, and if there's a change in that schedule at the last minute, then you will have to be compensated for that. We're looking to push a one fair wage. And, it's important to know that while we're fighting, there are 2 different issues here, right? One is about the minimum wage. And we know that, we were successfully able to get Illinois to increase its minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. We were a part of the group to get Chicago's minimum wage pushed faster than that So in July, Chicago goes up to 13, but then they are going to be on the same trajectory as Illinois unless Mayor-elect Lightfoot pushes to move that up quicker than 2025, which we will definitely be fighting for because we know in Chicago, $15 an hour is not a living wage. It is a minimum wage, right? And the other side of that is one fair wage. So those individuals that work on tips, they are paid what we call a sub-minimum wage. They typically get 60% of minimum wage. So in Chicago, they're getting $6.25 an hour, I believe. And then in Illinois, somewhere around $4.25, $4.50 an hour. So if they are getting just this sub-minimum wage and someone decides not to tip them well, right, or they have to subject themselves to harassment or bad treatment in order to make a decent wage for that long shift that they worked, what we're pushing is so that there's one fair wage, meaning that they will get a minimum wage on top of their tips. And there's a lot of pushback on that. You know, a lot of people say, well, they won't make the same amount of money. People will no longer tip once they find out they're making minimum wage, which is ridiculous because no one even thinks about what they're making to begin with. There are 7 states that have passed a one fair wage, and it's shown that customers are still tipping. So that is definitely not an issue there. So there's a lot going on that we're working on to try to even the playing ground, right?
Yes.
So
tell us about your event. I want to make sure we get people to register for your event before we go to the break. But tell us about your event. Okay. When is it and what is it?
So it's called the Working Lunch, and it's next Thursday on May 9th. Ticket sales actually close tomorrow. And the Working Lunch is a time for us to come together as business leaders, community leaders, regular individuals that are interested in this work that we do, to learn more, to be inspired, to learn how to advocate for themselves, and to support our organization at the same time. It's attended by about 1,000 people. We're expecting this year. Yeah, at the Hyatt Regency in the Grand Ballroom.
Excellent.
So it's a great networking opportunity. The tickets run about $175.
That's a good investment. I love it. That's a good investment.
It is a good investment if you think about what you are going to have access to in the room. So we do 45 minutes of networking before the event starts from 11 to 11:45, and then the program is from 11:45 to 1:30. And this year we have a dynamic panel with Fatima Gross-Graves, who is the CEO of the National Women's Law Center. We have City Clerk Anna Valencia, and the moderator would be Heidi Stevens, who is a columnist.
I love it.
For the
and
Chicago
where can people register? We're going to take a break, and I'm going to make sure that we pub the website. Where can people register for your working lunch for your organization, Women Employed? Where can they register?
We will make this as easy as possible. If you go to any of our social media handles, as well as our website at womenemployed.org, you will be able to click on a link. It'll be very prominent, and to go on and buy tickets, buy raffle tickets, or make a donation.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Sharita. I'm looking forward to working with you. Hopefully I can participate somehow in your efforts throughout the year. This topic is so important, and you certainly have my support and the support of WVON. So thank you so much for doing this. Everybody go to womenemployed.org or follow Women Employed on all social media. Register, $175. You can't afford not to do it. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON, 1690 AM, the talk of Chicago. I'm your host, Lynn Richardson. It's 10:47. We have news, weather, and traffic with Annette Flournoy, and we'll be right back. WVON.
You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson on the Talk of Chicago, 1690 AM, WVON.
Real estate. Let's talk about real estate, real estate, real estate. Let's talk about real estate. With Lynn Richardson discuss today. Any question that are on your mind, she can answer them every time. Every agent got it going on. You can't go wrong in and talk to Lynn Richardson. Everything got it going on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. I am your host, Lynn Richardson. This is WVON 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. You can follow me anywhere on social media at Lynn Richardson, at Lynn Millionaire. You can get help. You can go to lynnmillionaire.com right now. You can start the process of getting your money straight, getting your credit straight, getting your taxes straight, getting your home ownership, whatever it is you need to do. I've got a team ready to serve you. So many of you have responded already. I'm excited about setting up your financial consultations with members of the Lens List. And you can find my Lens List partners on the website. And we are building more. We're helping people all over the country, all over the world, in fact, because this show is about creating millionaires one family at a time. And that means you. And you have to believe you can do it. Let me tell you something. Belief is the beginning of all success. I'm going to repeat. Belief is the beginning of all success. When I was working as a vice president at J.P. Morgan Chase and I left, I saw a magazine article and Russell Simmons was doing a Get Your Money Right Summit. And he had Jay-Z and Beyonce and all these stars, and they had 10,000 people in the audience, African Americans and Hispanics, talking about home ownership and getting your money straight. And Susie Orman was there. And I looked at that article and I said, oh, wait a minute, that's supposed to be me. No disrespect to Susie Orman. She's great. I pay homage to her. But I believed that I had a message for my people that could only be delivered by me. And so I believed it. And here I am. I guess I'm like the Black Susie Orman or something like that, or whatever the case may be. But it is real. Your dreams are real. What you do is real. And if you don't believe in yourself, that's real too. So I just want you to believe. You don't have to believe for yourself. Let me believe that it's possible for you. Call me at 312-374-8130, 312-374-8130. Brian, you are on the line. You have a question for me?
I do. How you doing, Lynn?
I am good. How are you, Brian?
Good. I've been listening to you since way back in the day on Saturday mornings. I always love to listen to you.
All right. We graduated to the weekdays.
Yes.
I love it.
Question for you.
Uh-huh.
I do Uber all the time, and I have my own tax ID, everything going, and I make pretty good money, close to six figures.
Uh-huh.
And I'm trying to figure out, a lot of people don't consider Uber as real money and real income. They think it's like a hustle, but it's not. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to get into some investments, I got some money put aside, how can I be able to do that? Will the mortgage companies look at Uber as a downfall, or would they look at it as a legitimate employer?
So here's the deal. You are technically a consultant, which means you are a self-employed business owner, which means, first of all, anybody who's telling you it's not money, the money ain't real, is it green? Can you spend it? Can you pay a bill? Can you buy a hamburger? So when people start to say things like that, first of all, I never know who they is. So absolutely, it's considered viable employment, but it goes into the category of self-employed work. And all of your self-employed work should be reported on Schedule C of your 1040 tax return. So they're going to take not only your income, but they're also going to take into consideration any tax write-offs. You should maximize your tax write-offs as much as possible. If there's a profit left over, then that profit is what you get to claim as your income for qualifying for a mortgage. So let's say you bring in $100,000 and you write off your, of course, your car expenses. You write off your cell phone. You write off everything that it takes to run your business like a business. And once you get done writing things off, let's say you're only left with $50,000. Even though you brought in $100,000, the underwriter is going to qualify you as if you only made $50,000. But don't stop there. Get another side hustle. So to anybody who's saying it's not a legitimate hustle, anything that is legal, moral, and ethical and will pay you some money is a good side hustle. And I say get 9 of them. The goal is to have 9 streams of income, with 5 of them being passive streams. So if you can start to invest in real estate, if you can own where you live, let's say you start off owning your own multi-unit building and you live there rent-free because your tenants pay your mortgage with their rent payments, then that's starting to create passive income. So I'm encouraging you to keep going, get as many hours as you can doing Uber Eats, and whatever else they're passing out. So you have my support on that, Brian.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Okay, thank you. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable. We're going to take one more call. Ben, are you on the line with me? We only have 1 minute.
Oh, yes. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for calling.
All right. I have a question, and it's about a mortgage that I attempted to get. My wife and I bought a house in 2006, and we had a traditional mortgage with the 20% down. We financed for $172,000. And 2 years later, rates went down. We were able to refinance and save 2.25 points.
Okay, they're going to kick us off the air in 20 seconds. Tell me what is the problem. Let me get you a quick answer, and then take the rest of your call after the show.
2 years later, 2 years later, we attempted to buy a 3-unit building, and we had $48,000 to put down, and we were trying to get a more $27,000. Well, the bank said they couldn't loan us that money because the house that we lived in before we bought our house, that I had owned for 10 years free and clear, didn't have insurance on it. They said,
yeah.
What if it burns down? I said, well, if it burns down, it's paid for. I don't know anybody on it.
Sounds like there's a little more to that. I want you to go to linmillionaire.com, go click Get Help, and list everything that you just told me. A member of my team will make sure that you get on my calendar very quickly, respond. I'm so glad that you called. It sounds like it's a little more complicated, though, than a quick answer. You're listening to the Millionaires Roundtable on WVON, 1690 AM, the Talk of Chicago. This is Lynn Richardson. I am your host. It's time for us to close out. Ben, give the producers your phone number. We'll make sure we get to you. Bye-bye. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. WVON.